From South Carolina, Mr. Timmons is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank all of the witnesses for being here today. Emerging technology within the digital asset sectors has been the center of much controversy surrounding its use in illicit finance, but today I'd like to highlight the technology's use cases as a law enforcement and national security tool. Mr. Redboard, we see reports describing how illicit actors use digital assets or specific digital asset service providers. It's sometimes difficult to distinguish between those reports that are embellished and those that are not. From your perspective, where is TRM Labs seeing the most illicit activity with digital assets? What are the uses that you're seeing most?
Thank you for the question. They're just like in the traditional financial system, there are a number of different crimes that involve cryptocurrencies. I don't like the term crypto crime because there's no such thing. Crypto is just the means of value in a number of different crimes, to include hacks by North Korea, to include different types of scams and fraud. But the real difference, the fundamental difference between cryptocurrency is the way we can investigate it. We have tools that allow law enforcement to track and trace the flow of funds on blockchains. And the use of those tools have been very effective. We've seen law enforcement, the FBI and others, seize back millions of dollars in scam and fraud proceeds, money that would never have come back had it been in wire transfers and other types of, in the traditional world. We've seen seize back ransomware funds. So the real distinction here is you're going to see crypto involved in all kinds of different crimes because as it becomes more used by lawful users, that will always be the case. But the fundamental difference is this ability to investigate and seize back funds, which is an only in crypto phenomenon.
So the bond films back in the day, the bearer bonds that they would have enormous amounts of money in a briefcase or cash, I mean, those are traditional metrics of value that have been used by illicit activity, and there's no way to trace that. So this is actually a tool that law enforcement can use that is superior to historic measures of value.
That's correct. For the first time, we talk all about following the money. For the first time, we actually can in real time on blockchains. And the other extraordinary piece is it's immutable. It's forever. So you can go back and investigate cases that are 4 or 5 years old by using those breadcrumbs on blockchains, right? You now have a crime scene that you can investigate in real time and go back to build investigations. Those things never happened before.
So Representative Torres brought up the Colonial Pipeline attack, and it actually substantially affected my district. There was a period of time where I think it was 76% of the gas stations in my district had zero gas. They obviously were able to get the pipeline back on in the nick of time, but I mean, talk about a major disaster for my district that was narrowly averted. So my understanding, Colonial Pipeline paid $5 million in ransom payments in Bitcoin, and the bulk of it was recovered. Could you talk about the mechanism through which the FBI was able to actually recover the Bitcoin that were used for payment?
Absolutely. The FBI essentially is able to use tools like TRM to track and trace the funds. So you can watch where that Bitcoin payment went, and you can then track it and trace it on an immutable public ledger, ultimately to a wallet address that the FBI, using tools, was able to seize back. And the extraordinary piece of that is, had it been in any other currency, any other payment, that would not have been able to be the case.
If the perpetrators of the attack that received the ransom payment had to do it all over again, would they have been able to take steps to avoid the FBI's ability to recover the Bitcoin, or is that something that there's nothing they could have done to avoid that from occurring?
The cat and mouse game that always exists with illicit actors continues to exist today, and perhaps they could have used other types of obfuscation techniques, but the reality is that the tools also, like TRM, are getting much better to track and trace the funds through mixers, across different blockchains, across bridges. So the answer is no. The transparency of the blockchain allowed for that recovery, and I would submit despite other types of obfuscation techniques that they could have used.
So if they immediately, when they received it, immediately sold them to someone else, and that third party had no knowledge that they were stolen, or that they were used for a ransom payment, would that have precluded them from being able to recover them, theoretically?
So if those transactions are occurring on a blockchain, we're able to trace and track the flow of those funds from one wallet address to another wallet address. And ultimately,
But the FBI could not have recovered them from an innocent third party. I mean, they would have to have knowledge that the funds were illicit in order for it to be justifiably taken.
Right. So from a so as I would see it from a national security perspective, they would be tracing and tracking those funds wherever they went. I think ultimately, because you do not want them to go to the bad actor, who ultimately recovered them in the end. Hopefully, it would be Colonial Pipeline. But quite frankly, the key there from a national security perspective is to make sure it does not go to the ransomware group.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman